You know, a lot of times here, I think it is true, we pick on the left. I pick on the left. But today, I'm looking at the country and where we are, and I want to say to the left today, I want to address anybody who's out there, who's a leftist or a Democrat. I want to say, keep doing what you're doing. Just keep it up. Keep attacking black people who have their own opinions. Just keep calling them Uncle Toms and minstrels and dumb Negroes. Keep right on with that, Democrats. I like it because I want all Americans to thrive. And I know black people are going to wake up one day and realize that in order to have your respect, they have to give up their intellectual freedom and personal independence. So just keep the women too. Keep calling the women gender traitors when they have their own opinions. You just keep telling them that their sons and their husbands don't deserve due process, the presumption of innocence. Just stick with it. Stick with it, Democrats. I love it. I love your style. I want everyone to live the life that they choose. And I know women are going to wake up and realize you're turning them into whining victims in order to gain control over their lives. And don't forget the gay folks. Do not forget the gay people. Keep telling them to strip their fellow Americans of their religious rights. Keep telling them to try and silence anyone who disapproves of them. Keep turning them into homo-fascists. And we on the right will just quietly collect the gay people who just want to be ordinary people, ordinary Americans, and be left alone like everybody else. So just keep at it. And don't forget the mobs. Don't forget the screaming and the mobs. Do not stop, because I cannot destroy the credibility of your insidious anti-American philosophy single-handed, but you're doing a great job on your own. And let's take a look at the Yay Donald Summit. I have to talk about this. It is just amazing. The Kanye Summit and the reaction are both amazing. And listen, Kanye is a kooky artist guy. He is, and who cares about celebrity endorsements and all this stuff? But he is a popular man, and he's obviously very kooky, and his music is not my music. I'm not going to pretend it is. But I was listening to him yesterday because it was a surreal meeting. This thing, he just went off on this he goes on these rants, and you hardly know what he's saying. But in the middle of these rants, I started to hear what he was saying, and it was kind of moving. It was actually kind of moving. And so he's sitting in the Oval Office with Jim Brown, the great football player Jim Brown. And he goes off and he starts talking. Well, just listen to what he says. He's been wearing the MAGA hat, and everybody's attacking him for the MAGA hat.
I think it's the bravery that helps you beat this game called life. They try to scare me to not wear this hat, my own friends, but this hat, it gives me power in a way. My dad and my mom separated, so I didn't have a lot of male energy in my home. And also, I'm married to a family that, not a lot of male energy going on. It's beautiful, though. But there's times where, it's something about, I love Hillary. I love everyone, right? But the campaign, I'm with her, just didn't make me feel as a guy that didn't get to see my dad all the time, like a guy that could play catch with his son. It was something about when I put this hat on, it made me feel like Superman. You made a Superman. That's my favorite superhero. And you made a Superman cape for me also as a guy.
Made a Superman cape for me, so I felt like a man who plays catch with his sons because I didn't have that male energy in my life. I mean, that's a genuinely honest and transgressive thing to say. I mean, he is telling you that, if anybody has stripped the black man of his manhood, it is the left. I mean, nobody on the right wants anything for black people but to have families, to be fathers, to be men among men. That is what the right wants for the black man, because our idea is get rid of the race thing. The race thing is over. We got it. We get it. This country had a major change of heart in the 60s, 50s, and 60s. It had a major change of heart. It looked at its sins. It felt shame. It repented. It is now a different place, and we on the right say, yeah, let's leave that behind. Everybody's for himself. Men be men, women be women. Do it. That's great. Who is telling them that you are so helpless, you are dependent on our welfare? Who is telling them, you can't, white women don't need a man in the home. Women need a man like a fish needs a bicycle. Who's telling them that stuff? Who is putting their children at risk so that they wind up in prison and are taken off the streets and can no longer be part of the community? It's all on the left. Who's teaching them to quail at microaggressions? What kind of a man, I'm sorry, but what kind of a man quails at microaggressions? Oh, women are afraid when I walk into an elevator. That's your problem? That's your problem? Microaggressions are what men step on. They're what men wipe off their shoes as they're going to accomplish the thing they want to accomplish in their life. And that's what he was talking about, that Trump gave him that feeling. Trump gave him the feeling of being a man. Now let's listen to the reaction on MSNBC from, this is cut 6, when they heard that. They were just absolutely shocked.
Wow. Okay, I'm doing this for everybody who's watching us who turned their volume down. You can put it back up again. That
But
was
if you think you're
bonkers.
going to get a thoughtful play-by-play and political analysis, you're not, because that was an assault on our White House.
We're not. You can't analyze some of that stuff that was said. As we warned you at the top, there was a little bit of profanity. There was actually more than you heard. We were able to bleep some of it out, but there was some of it did make it in there. That was crazy. That was bonkers. I mean, the things that Kanye said.
Can I go with my favorite?
Yeah.
How he talked about, he had a lack of male role models
Right.
in his life growing up.
Not a lot of male energy in his house,
The
he
reason
said.
he was drawn to MAGA was because of the male power.
When he put that cap on, he felt like a guy who could play catch with his.
Because he...
They're laughing at him. He liked that male power, and we don't want any male power in here. We certainly don't want any father figures in the home. We don't want any strong men showing young men how to be men. We don't want that, because that, oh man, that ruins everything. It's all Me Too. We're all victims. We're all victims. You know, it is amazing. This is what they're selling. And Kanye, of all people, has ripped the mask off them. You know, he has ripped the mask. It is now bare how racist they are, how sexist they are. You know, he was there to talk about prison reform, and, you know, in his wandering, monologue, he kind of hit on prison reform a little bit. And this is a big deal, prison reform, because it's something that conservatives can get on board with. Because back in the 70s and 80s, because of liberal legal transformations, the liberal Supreme Court, liberal policing, big cities were a crime-infested jungle. You know, New York, I lived in New York during that time. You could not go outside without worrying about getting shot. You couldn't let your girlfriend or wife go outside without worrying she wasn't coming home. It was miserable. It was miserable. And then Giuliani and other mayors brought in CompStat and brought in, no tolerance, zero tolerance policing. They called it that. It was really just making sure there weren't small crimes that led to bigger crimes. And the crime stopped. It was a crisis, and they ended the crisis, except in liberal cities like Chicago. They ended the crisis, but like everything, it had a price. It had a price. It put too many people in prison. It wasn't mass incarceration. It was enforcing the law and breaking the cycle that was leading our cities to become unlivable, like San Francisco and Portland are becoming unlivable today. But now that the crisis has passed, it is time to think about the cost. When you take a young man off the streets, you may be punishing a criminal, but you're also taking away a father, a brother, a son. You're taking him out of school. You're taking him away from work. So now it's time to think, is there something else we can do? Is there some way we can rehabilitate people? Is there some way we can start to negotiate with these people? Because a lot of these neighborhoods have been cleaned up and the crime is low. We can start to think about that. It's good. So anyway, Kanye did hit on this at one point when he starts talking about racism. So his number 13.
With blacks and African Americans, we really get caught up in the idea of racism over the idea of industry. We say if people don't have land, they settle for brands. We want Polo Sport and Obama again. We want a brand more than we want land, because we haven't known how it feels to actually have our own land and have ownership of our own blocks. So when you don't have ownership, then it's all about how something looks. It's about the patina, it's not about the soil, it's not about the core. So we focus more on, is somebody wearing something, is someone disrespecting, so I gotta shoot them, or the idea of someone being racist. You know, we talk about police murders, which we definitely have to discuss, and we have to bring nobility to the police officers and make them, because police officers are just like us. But this is this whole hate building, right? And that's a major thing about racial tension. And we also, as black people, we have to take a responsibility for what we're doing.
What Kanye was saying there was actually profound. If you don't have land, you need a brand. So in other words, if all they offer you is identity, instead of accomplishment and, being somebody and doing something in the world. And that's what he's talking about. I think it makes perfect sense. So now we have to listen. Then he hugged the president. That's the thing that drove everybody crazy. Play that. It's a very short clip. Play that.
I guess you know I love you.
I know. But I don't want to put you in that spot. But
No, I'm standing in that spot. I love this guy right here. Let me give this guy a hug right here. I love this guy right here. Yeah.
Come here. Yeah. That's really nice. And that's from the heart. I didn't want to put you in that position, but that's from the heart. Special guy. These two are special people.
I love that. It's Trump saying I didn't want to put you in that position. You know, Shapiro's like that too. You know, there are plenty of famous people who wander in there, and Shapiro says, "Keep your head down. You don't have to tell people you like me because it'll cost you." And that's what Trump was saying to him there. That was the moment. That's the thing that drove them nuts. So let's go over to CNN, where Tweedledum and Tweedle even stupider we're talking about this. I gotta go to Chris Cuomo first, because that was maybe one of the that may win some kind of Emmy for one of the stupidest moments on television. Do we have that cut?
My curiosity wasn't about what came out of Kanye's mouth. My wonder went to what was going on in Trump's head. Let's take a look at him. Here's my educated guess, okay? Other than a warm serotonin flush of happy hormone, imaginary headlines, blacks love Trump. He's blacker than Obama. I certainly agree this is a cartoonish situation, but look at Trump here yet again. Yeah, Superman, sure I am. I can do anything. I can save people. I wonder if images of Hurricane Michael came into his head then. The people that do need saving. And here he is, doing this.
Chris Cuomo reporting from inside the head of the president, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, this is Chris Cuomo. I'm inside the head of the president, reading his mind. I've got some racist thoughts going on. What the hell is he talking about? But if that's not stupid enough and you want some hate, you got to go to Don Lemonhead. Check him out.
What I saw was a minstrel show today. Him in front of all of these white people, mostly white people, embarrassing himself. And embarrassing Americans, but mostly African Americans, because every one of them is sitting either at home or with their phones watching this, cringing. I couldn't even watch it. I had to turn the television off because it was so hard to watch. Him sitting there being used by the President of the United States. The President is exploiting him, and I don't mean this in a disparaging way, exploiting someone who needs help, who needs to back away from the cameras, who needs to get off stage, who needs to deal with his issues.
What a racist piece of garbage this guy is. That's so he really is awful. You know, it's the whole thing. But, you know, one of the reasons I hope that Trump brings more black people into the conservative fold is because, you know, we do want to hear from them. We do want to know, like, what is going on. I'm perfectly willing to accept that there are some ways in which the life of a black guy in America is different than the life of a white guy. I'm really willing to accept that. And if there are problems, we want to offer conservative solutions. But what we don't want to do, what we do not want to do, is turn people into victims, make people dependent, and make people lock them into a philosophy because of the color of their skin. That is incredibly racist. I have to play this thing. There's a guy, I think he pronounces his name Ami. I may have that wrong. It's Ami Horowitz, and he does a man on the street thing. He went to Berkeley, where I graduated, the UC Berkeley, and he interviewed white liberals about why voter ID laws are racist. Young white liberals, he asked them why voter ID laws are racist. And then halfway through this, he goes to Harlem and asks black people about it. It is an amazing, revelatory video. Listen to this.
Do you think that's harder for black people to go online?
Well, I feel like they don't have the knowledge of how it works.
A lot of people have smartphones, but you might not have data.
For most of the communities, they don't really know what is out there just because they're not aware or they're not informed. I also think there's a repression of black voting with how if you're a convicted felon, you're not allowed to vote and everything. And when you look at swing states like Florida, that's a huge population of the African Americans.
Now I'm here in East Harlem to ask black people their thoughts on what you just heard. Do you have ID normally? You carry ID around?
Yes, I have state ID.
Do you carry ID?
Yes, I do.
Do you know any black person who doesn't carry ID?
No. Everyone that I know has an ID. Why would they think we don't have ID?
That's a lie. Why would they say that?
Do you have ID?
Yes.
Because I have my ID and my friends have their ID, so we know what we need to carry around.
Everybody that I know have ID. That's one of the things you need to walk around with New York with.
I mean, that is what you're living. You know, this has been created. This didn't happen accidentally. This was created by the media. This was created by the Democrat Party. This is not an accidental thing. You know, they're telling people, you know, black people are dumb. They're poor. They're primitive. They can't handle anything. They don't know how to work the internet. It's like, you know, it's like they never met anybody. It is like they never met anybody with a different color skin. That is where it comes from. This condescension. This and you know, it is all on one side. If more black people came over and became conservatives, they would find free, you know, answers to problems that might be in their community that include their freedom, their independence, their right to free thought and respect for them as individuals, not as black people, because who cares if you're black or white, is respect for you as an individual. Add to this mob thing. I have to read, you know, we've been talking about this thing in Portland, and I've just seen videos of it. But today, an editor from Quillette, is that how you pronounce Quillette? I cannot pronounce this guy's name. It's Andy Ngo. That is his name. Ngo, I guess. Go. Yeah, but he is an editor at Quillette, and he wrote a piece for the Wall Street Journal about the leftist mob in Portland, where he lives. And he says they invited people to attend a protest because this 27-year-old black father of three was murdered by the racist Portland police, okay? So people have turned up for this, and they started, and by the way, the guy who was killed by the Portland police had already allegedly killed two other people. So it was like a shootout. It was not like some kind of evil thing. And they're out there shouting, "Stop racist police terror, throw all cops in the trash." And they make their way to the courthouse, and they marched in the middle of the street, bringing traffic to a stop. They got a 74-year-old man. This is the video that's been playing. A 74-year-old man. They tried to stop his car, and he stepped out and was assaulted by the mob. They pushed him and smashed his car with clubs after he managed to get back inside the vehicle. No police were in sight, even though the central precinct was blocks away. Portland Resistance, a local social justice group, put out a call on Twitter asking for the public to identify this white man, and they published photos of him and his license plate with the message, "Make racists afraid again." This guy is not a racist. He was just trying to get through this mob. The guy says, "I've lived here my whole life, but I don't want to go downtown anymore." The mob later occupied a busy intersection, and when a middle-aged man driving a car with North Carolina plates stopped in confusion, the agitators descended on him. "You little white effer," shouted one, of course, white man. "You are a little white supremacist. Go back to North Carolina where you came from." This is the mob taking over Portland, Oregon, which used to be a lovely city. The crowd targeted other drivers. "You're lucky you didn't hit me. I would have beat you up," yelled a demonstrator at another driver. One person punched the back of a passing car. Now, a block away, here's the thing, a block away, police officers looked on. They watched this. Why didn't they respond? Andy and Ngo contacted the department, and they told him in a statement it feared intervention would change the demeanor of the crowd for the worse. So the police wouldn't do anything. He says such lawlessness is increasingly typical here. So keep it up, lefties. We love this on the right. We want people to see who you are. We want them to rip up. You know, the RNC is a new ad about this, cut number 9, where they just show you, because it's not just the mob. It's not just the man on the street. It's the people at the top urging them on. Here's their ad.
When they go low, we kick them.
Someone call the cops. And if you see anybody in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be. You cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for, what you care about.
Get up and please get up in the face of some Congress people.
Is this the quote unquote mob?
You know, the thing is, it says the left, an unhinged mob. The thing is, that's a fair ad, and there's no moral equivalence. You know, our friends over at Campus Reform, we love these guys. Cabot Phillips goes out and he does these campus, man on the street interviews. He went out and offered $100 to anybody who could name a time when conservatives had tried to stop leftists from speaking. Listen to this.
I'll give you $100 if you can give an example of conservative students on a campus shutting down a liberal speaker. $100.
Off the top of my head.
UGA campus?
Any campus.
Any campus? I'm not too aware.
Yeah, I'm gonna lose that $100 because I can't.
No, I don't think I can. I wish I could, but no.
That's amazing. So keep it up, lefties. Look, I'm gone a little long, but I want to end with one more thing. In the room with Kanye West was Jim Brown, one of the greatest football players of all time. And he came out afterwards and they asked him about the whole football thing with kneeling for the flag. And I want you to listen to this man's answer, because this is the answer. This is the answer to the left with their "you're a black man, you're a woman, you're a man," this identity politics built, constructed to tear us apart, to set us at each other so they can get power while we're fighting among ourselves. That's the whole point of identity politics. It is racism with a smiling face. That's all it is. It's racism with a smiling face meant to divide us, like all racism is meant to divide people so the powerful can seize power. That is what racism is for. That is why people instigate it in people. That's why guys like Putin sell it against the Jews. That is why they sell it against white men on the left. That's all racism is. It is just a means of going into your mind, using your prejudices to turn you against your neighbor so they can seize power. Listen to Jim Brown's response to whether people should be kneeling and disrespecting the flag.
Well, I can be very blunt about taking a knee. See, first of all, I'm an American. That flag is my flag. Things that I've overcome in this country allows to make me a better person. I don't think that we should take knees in protest instead of standing up for our flag. I think we should work out our problems as a family. And that's what I would advocate to my children, to all the young people that I deal with. I am an American. That flag is my flag, and I want to represent it that way.
You bet it's your flag, Jim Brown. You bet it's your flag. I mean, everybody, this country, I don't care what anybody says, this country was built by people of 1,000 different colors and is being built right now by people of even more colors than before. We are meant to be, he is absolutely right, we are meant to be the American family, and the left does nothing but turn us against each other because their price of their identity politics is you lose your individuality, you lose your freedom, you lose what it means to be an American. So keep it up, lefties, because Americans are smart. They will figure it out.